Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Orhan from ReePlayer. Welcome.
Yeah,
How are you?
good, Matt. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So, we met crazily enough. I was going to LA just for to see some friends on the kind of a midpoint of a work trip, and I had seen you guys on Facebook or something. Somebody had mentioned your company, and I had looked you up and saw that you guys were based in LA. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna reach out and see if I can meet these guys, and we did. We had a nice lunch, talked a lot about soccer and your camera setup, so it was great. So I'm happy to get you, face to face on Zoom here for a little bit of a conversation that we can share with the folks. Um, but before we talk about ReePlayer, let's talk about you a little bit. So why don't you just give me a give everybody kind of a brief background. How'd you get into soccer? What's your journey like? Where'd you grow up? Been your pathway? How'd you get to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own unique pathway, and I love hearing this. So first of all, thank you for having me here, and thank you for putting this together for everybody. It's very unique. My personal journey started in Istanbul. I was born in Istanbul, Turkey, and my dad was a diehard fan of Trabzonspor, and my grandpa was a diehard fan of Galatasaray. And I happened to choose the burgundy and the light blue colors of Trabzonspor. And although we didn't live in that city, that's a Black Sea region, and they're the fourth biggest team, not the biggest team in the country. So that's where my heart lied, and that's what I went with. However, I had to pick a side soon because I don't live in that city. So I picked to play for Galatasaray at a very young age. And I did. So my journey started there. I was probably in the vicinity of the Arda Turan and a couple of the other guys, Emre, who ended up going to Spain after that during that time. And I had a great time out there. They have a great facility. It's the youth guys at the very bottom of the hill, and as you get higher and higher up the hill, you get to the A squad, and they're at the top. And I mean that says something, right? Talk about like working your way up the mountain. And funny enough, eventually my parents decided that we needed to move to the United States because, there's better education out here. And although my dad really wanted me to play pro, I guess he picked education over athletics and moved us. But I had just signed my like youth pro contract several months before, so that was devastating, as you can imagine, at that age. And then it gets worse because then I didn't touch a soccer ball in the United States for about 2 years until I found the club team to play for. But you got to look at it from the bright side. I was like a caged up dog, I say, and when I was kind of let out onto the nice green grass, I knew what I had to do. So that was sort of the journey from starting soccer and playing on the streets, of course, to coming to the United States, and then I played youth club out here in Los Angeles, California, for a while, and then I had a quick stint at Tulsa, Oklahoma. Shout out to those guys out there, and Coach Steve Earle. He changed who I am and what kind of game I played. I was a forward. He made me a midfielder, and without even asking me, enforced that upon me, and I love it. I love playing midfield, and whether it's defensive or offensive, and so had a nice journey with my high school out here. Came back. We before I had left, we had just won CIF and state and ranked number one in the nation for high school. So went to Tulsa, came back, finished up high school out here, and then things kind of fizzled out from there. From the point of view of playing college in the United States, so I had a couple of hiccups. Maybe we'll talk about on the podcast today. But that ultimately ended up motivating me and getting myself to Europe. So I hauled myself to Europe and started knocking on some doors and opening up some doors to play some soccer out there, and trained and played with some lower division teams in Sweden, and then like made myself to Turkey and trained with some of the clubs out there, B squad of Besiktas, which was like a big squad, and try to get myself indoors. But ultimately, I didn't have it in me at that very young age to sleep on a couch in an office space and daytime go and knock on doors and try to make things happen. So I came back and got my education, and here I am today.
No, it's an amazing journey for sure. Um, so I mean, I'm guessing all of that experience as a whole is kind of what got you to where you are now. So I mean, what's the biggest reason you wanted to be in this business, this replayer and the college or not college, but just the soccer video market?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Of course. I mean, like, you do things in life and hopefully you do it because it's meaningful to you. Soccer was that thing where, it was meaningful to me for several reasons. I wanted to perform at a very, very high level and do so on a regular basis. But also I wanted to support my family. I mean, they meant everything to me. So that was, really the meaning behind that. And I'm sure it is for a lot of athletes out there. And so, when a couple of a decade or two later, 2 decades later, I'd say, I overheard, and I am in his house today, funny enough. I overheard the guy that lives here, his roommate's friend, tell them, hey, can you come to my next game and record, because a college scout is looking for video, and I'm at a community college, I want to transfer, and I have an opportunity here, but I don't have any footage. And I hit the chord, right? Like, I didn't have footage. That was one of my things when I went to Europe, or before I went to Europe. I pinged a ton of agents and managers, and that was the thing. Send us your CD. That's what it was during those days. I feel like that ages us a lot, but that was just, just
We won't talk about any video that I had done or the lack thereof on VHS tape.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, that was the start of this. It's something in me was like, what the hell? Is this still a problem? It cannot be. There's no way. We have iPhones in our pockets. There's no chance that video is not being recorded. And yet it wasn't recorded. That was a problem. And so I did a year of proof of concept, they call it. And I ran a company, a product development company. And I built products for others. And we had a marketing department, which had DSLR cameras as well as drones. So, flash news to people that thought that was a real business. We put together a fake business called Drone FC and put up a site, and got hired to record games. And all I was doing was just seeing whether or not this was a real problem, why is it a problem, and to identify a better solution for it. And so that was the start of it. And so it's the meaning. I really want to help athletes record their best. It's an asset ultimately. And here we are today sitting on the Zoom call. You're recording this and you're going to share it with a wider audience, only because Zoom is enabling us to do this. So video is the asset here, and they're going to put that in your hands, and you're going to reach your audience and distribute this information. So that's the same thing with athletes. And I've said it when we met too, at lunch. Athletes are the coolest kids on the block, but they don't have anything to show for. So I don't know how cool you could really be outside of that physical block of space in your neighborhood.
Yeah, well, and that's just a reminder to folks. This if you're listening as a podcast, first of all, hope you hit subscribe. But second of all, we are available via video on our YouTube channel, which you should also subscribe to. But
Yep.
so I mean, video is like you just mentioned, it's everywhere. People are, well, I mean, we're talking today, and the TikTok hearings were yesterday talking about video. So,
Yeah.
um, but I mean, if someone who's listening to this today, they're going, well, Matt, I know there's VO and there's Trace, and there are video things out there in the youth soccer world to help people get their video. So, you know, folks may not have heard of ReePlayer at this point, but how are you guys different from, the other products out there?
Yeah, yeah, I love this question, mainly because of the fact that you can ask this question. Where there is competition, there's competition, baby, and I love that. It pushes all of us. And I'm an athlete. Without other teams, soccer wouldn't be as fun as it is. And so I'm glad to be in a space where there are folks like the VOs and the Traces and the Pixelots and all the others. And it pushes us to differentiate. And you know, we've been sort of idle for a good amount of time because we want to make sure that we have perfect alignment with what people want. As I mentioned earlier, I come from a product development background, and all I did, and I know very well to do, is find that alignment with folks. And what I mean by that is, what are they not getting from the existing products out in the market, and what are they actually wanting and needing? So ultimately, that drove us into hyper focusing and putting at the center of our attention the athlete. They are the majority. They have, you know, there are 22 of them playing on the field plus the bench. And then you got the coaches, and then you got the parents. So times two of the players. And so everyone's after the asset, which is the video here. And our primary focus has been, how can we build a product, the best camera in the market, period? Because the video needs to be just good. I mean, in fact, better than good. It needs to be something that people just love, and they can utilize more so than others. And I thought that there was a uh what's the right word? I mean, I just didn't think that the quality out there of video coming from other cameras wasn't something that I'd be proud of sharing in the ways that I would want to share and distribute on social media. So that was number one thing. And then the other differentiation is shareability and access to footage. So, you know, since day one, our obsession has been, how can we give folks access to footage faster than anybody else, which we can hopefully talk about what we've done in a later part in this podcast. And then distribution of it, shareability. So going from like recording to accessing it via your mobile app in your pocket to hitting a button and sharing your best in the best way possible. No one likes to see these, you know, tiny little videos, but they want to see vertical, you know, enlarged video, just like you would when you're scrolling through TikTok or Instagram. So those are primarily the focuses that we focus on the product side. And then on the flip side of that was affordability. 99 bucks a month for the entire team, unlimited everything. That was, you know, if someone came at me, I mean, that was the question I asked myself, what would I say yes to, and what would be a no-brainer? And it was that. And we didn't come up with that. I can't take credit for it too, because we did a nationwide research targeting zip codes like Compton and Beverly Hills to understand what folks are willing to pay and what they could afford to pay. So we took that data, and then we went to the drawing board and started to build a product. So I'm very proud of that fact.
Well, and right now you guys are in private beta. Can you talk more about that? How's it going? What's some of the things that the users have seen that you guys have learned from the beta?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, you know, I just got goosebumps. I always do. I just want to give a major shout out to everyone who has been supporting us through beta and otherwise. We have a massive community, a huge wait list, and you know, I have people emailing me saying, you know, I've been waiting for you guys to finish up, you know, your prototype to your beta to your private beta for the last year and a half, and I haven't purchased any others. Just still waiting for you guys. That's crazy. Thank you so much for believing in us and waiting for us. We have acquired a lot of information through beta, from uploading issues that, you know, we were experiencing, so were, you know, some of the other entities out there, to video quality improvements that we made. So, you know, we originally, and you know, I always mention this too. We originally wanted to bring in 12 beta participants to this round, and we had about 1,500 clubs sign up for these 12 spots. We did onboard about 100 and close to 120 beta participants because we had so many people sign up. Looking back, I've said this before, we made a mistake there, and we all make mistakes. We're all human. And we onboarded way too many people. So the data coming in was the same, but the people to manage was much larger than what we could handle. So we did go through a phase where we actually reduced the number of beta participants that we had. And that allowed us to make specific upgrades to this next gen camera. So that's what we call the unit that's going to come out when we publicly launch. So we went from a 2 4K camera system to the only ones with actual 3 functioning 4K cameras in one single camera unit. Each one of those cameras are recording in 4K and stitching with a brand new algorithm that is not a traditional stitching method. I really don't think anyone out there is actually using this type of method that we're stitching with. And what it allows us to do is preserve raw pixels straight from the sensor itself. So a lot of times you might see manipulation of pixels, blurring of pixels in some of the other products out there. We're eliminating that concept from the foundation. So I mentioned the obsession that we have about video quality. So that's where the highest pixel density camera is going to be coming from, just that the 3 camera system as well as the stitching. And then we're shrinking the size of the beta unit, of course, and making it more rugged. And we're going to have probably the most powerful AI chip from NVIDIA in these camera units that we're going to launch into the market, as well as equipping every camera with an LTE module. So some folks might want to live stream, and they might want to be able to do so because they're in the final in 2 hours and they decided then, and they want to hit a button and turn on live streaming capabilities. So every unit will be equipped with that. And then we're making major improvements, like I mentioned earlier, to the mobile app. So sharing content, creating highlight reels, downloading them is going to be very, very simple. So I know I can keep nerding out about this, but the last thing I'll say is that we want to adopt this open platform concept where it is, I want to make sure that when we sit on the table with every single stakeholder, be it athletes, players, you, parents, whoever it is, we're all there for the same reason, which is access to video and what we can do with video. So, we don't want to punish people for using other products out there. So we're going to slowly deploy this concept of, okay, bring any footage that you have, whether it's from your cell phone or from a VO or from a trace, and utilize the shareability features within our platform, and then send it out to wherever you'd like. So you might really like our shareability features in the app, but you might really like Huddle's analytical features. So we'll partner up with those folks and build an integration where you just toggle on a switch, and while you're saving it to the ReePlayer platform, we just zap it over to your Huddle platform as well, so you can have access to it there. So hopefully that's, in a quick nutshell, everything, all the improvements that we went from beta to next gen that we're making before we launch.
No, it's a lot of stuff. It's pretty cool. Well, I mean, let's fast forward, to launch, and of course, you're going to send me one of the first, ready for production units so I can play with it down here in Bradenton. But how do you see kind of, the videos serving everybody that needs them, right? Whether that's the player, the parent, the coach, and everybody in between. I mean, obviously, there's the video is one part, right? And then there's the next part. It's the editing and the highlighting and the sharing and all that stuff. So what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah. I'll talk about each stakeholder very briefly, but the way I see it is, I just want everyone to enjoy the game, man. The athlete just needs to think about that next game, and step on that pitch and just give it their best. The parents just enjoying every ounce of that game and every single moment. The coach doing what they do, the scouts doing what they do. No one should ever think about whether this game was recorded or whether or not I need to edit it. I come from a UX world, so that's the best case scenario. So that everyone enjoys it, and then once the game is over, or during the game it's live streamed, and once the game is over, everyone has access to it. You hit a button, you get your highlight reel, you share by hitting another button. Simple as that. So, but if we were to kind of dial into each individual persona that you just mentioned, the way I see it is that, and I mentioned to them as the next generation athlete, because there is going to be quite a difference and pivot here in how these athletes showcase themselves. And so with video, athletes will be able to grow an audience, engage with brands, and monetize that fandom. I mean, here you are doing that in essence as well, and sharing this knowledge and wisdom. They too will be able to learn from their game, connect with trainers, and improve their game when you have video. And the best part is they no longer just have to connect with trainers personally. Just like you and I, they might want to connect through Zoom, and just because video exists, they can give that feedback. They can, of course, get discovered by college scouts, which is what your podcast is all about, and professional teams. So they can, compete against their peers. We want to create those kind of environments so that virtually they can do that. And then this might be the most important thing to many of them. Allow their family and friends to watch them and watch their best, even if they can't attend a lot live. So for youth clubs, this is a massive opportunity to go into the next generation as well. Provide massive value to the athletes, to the parents, and the fans and the coaches. Of course, increase club visibility and impact the growth of the club, but also bring in new revenue streams. I was always sponsored as an athlete. I could never really afford to play, and thankfully, there was a wealthy parent who sponsored me, but the club itself really couldn't. So, why can't we introduce new revenue streams like digital live streaming tickets, growing their fans and monetizing from other brand sponsorships, increasing college scholarships, resulting in more satisfied parents and pulling more parents inside of their club. So as you can imagine, I can keep going what this means to scouts and brands, but I don't want to hog the mic. But this is definitely something that is an asset, and everyone in their own right can utilize it in a unique way.
Well, I've got one, well, I guess two last questions, but one final one about the camera topic. But let's say fast forward, let's go 5 years, right? Where do you see the whole game video recording, data analytics space in soccer headed?
Yeah, 5 years is a long time for tech. I mean, look at the introduction of OpenAI and ChatGPT, right? What has it done to our world in a span of a couple of weeks or a month or a couple of months? So I love it. I mean, it just kind of broadens our scope of what we can accomplish. And the way I see it is that in 5 years, man, it's going to be a different world. Like, we're going to have um, little celebrities coming out of neighborhoods, and kids getting discovered, not just for soccer, but for all sports. Data is going to play a magnificent part in this. And you know what? Have you watched Moneyball?
Oh yeah, love
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I love it. I've watched it several times too. And you kind of watch these things on TV, and then you think to yourself, well, only the pros have that. Um, but things are going to change, and I think now technology is becoming more and more widely available, and we're going to see Moneyball situations in sports. And look, ultimately, I'm on the side of the athlete, meaning this is, I want to make sure that the athletes themselves are empowered and they're in full control of their destiny, and they have that data available to them. And therefore, the way I see it in 5 years, and I'll paint a clear picture on the data side, is that as an athlete, I know what profile of an athlete I am, and I know what profile of a team X and Y and Z are. Therefore, I know where I could go and play and get the most minutes and perform. So that decision making should be a lot easier. Right now, it isn't like that, and it's literally, I mean, it's wishy-washy. I think we can see a huge change in the way we make decisions and where we go play and how we play, because that data is clearly visible to us.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna end us on one last question, and it's a question. I'm tweaking it slightly since you're not my normal college coach interview, but it's gonna be similar here. So, what? Give me one nugget, one piece of advice, one thing that you've learned or that you've seen regarding the college recruiting process. Give me one piece of information you'd love to share with any parent, family, or player who's hoping to play in college.
Oh man, I mean, as someone that ranked number one in the nation in high school and didn't get an opportunity, and didn't get an opportunity in the pro space for the reason that I didn't have game footage, that's what I would say. I know it's funny coming from the CEO of ReePlayer, but that's why I started it. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So please record. Doesn't have to be with ReePlayer. Pull out your phone, whatever it is, but record your kids' games and put together the reels and share their best with them and with college scouts.
Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate the time. It was great meeting you in person, and now meeting on
Same.
Zoom. And I look forward to keeping in touch and learning what you guys are doing, and can't wait to get the final in production unit out the door and get my hands on one.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for doing what you do, Matt.
I
Appreciate it.
appreciate. Take care.
Take care.